book lovers, it is G Swizz here, and I'm here today to talk about my most anticipated releases of 2022. If you didn't know, this is a 7 on Sunday topic, and I am the host of 7 on Sunday. I will link the Goodreads page down in the description where you can check it out and you can participate in a topic in the future, or you could suggest a topic. This week we get to talk about all the books that we are excited for this year. And of course I can't choose 7, I've got to go above because there are too many. But I still narrowed it down, considering that I'm going to be really excited for a lot of books this year. I mean, I'm always excited for new books, but these are the ones that I can think of at the top of my head right now that I am currently really excited for as we step into this new year. I will just mostly be mentioning a bunch of fantasy books on here. I don't think I'm going to be mentioning any contemporaries, even though I am slowly starting to get back into contemporary, adult contemporary to be exact. I think because I'm just getting into adult contemporary, it kind of makes sense to wait until I figure out what I'm going to be anticipating in that genre. I've had these anticipated releases for fantasy for a very long time now, and actually I think that there's one sci-fi. I might mention the sci-fi first so I don't forget. I guess without further ado, let's get into the anticipated releases for this year. First one I'm going to mention is Seven Mercies. If you guys don't know, this is the sequel, and I believe, unfortunately, the finale to Seven Devils by Laura Lam and Elizabeth May. I'm really going to miss this series. I think that the first book was written very well. I know that in a lot of people's opinion, it's not that good. I think because of its choppy writing style, it tends to go from past perspective to future perspective to multiple different POVs. It's a bit difficult to follow. I would actually recommend you listen to the audiobook for this one, because the audiobook kind of helps with those choppy perspectives and with those choppy times. I don't know, it really helped me fully understand the story, so it might help you in the same way. I definitely recommend it if you are struggling with the physical copy. I really did love Seven Devils. I only read it once and immediately fell in love with it. I don't know if I want to reread Seven Devils before reading Seven Mercies, but I think it might be a wise thing to do just to get the anticipation built up and me excited. Even though I still remember a fair chunk of what happened in Seven Devils, I honestly cannot wait to get back into the hype of the series. So maybe I should just reread Seven Devils before I get into Seven Mercies. But yes, Seven Mercies I believe comes out at the beginning of the year, so not too long to go. I still haven't pre-ordered it, so I need to get onto that. The next most anticipated release I have is pretty much self-explanatory. You guys already know that I'm anticipating House of Sky and Breath by Sarah J Maas. This is the second book in the Crescent City saga. I'm already like really pumped to reread House of Earth and Blood, and I'm just really excited to get back into the world and to hang out with Hunt and Bryce and the gang again. The fact that I'm so excited right now just to reread the first book, I'm trying not to think about the anticipation for the second book. I don't know how to say this, but because I'm so focused on the first and because I love the first book so much, I'm also a little bit nervous that I'm not gonna love the second book as much. Like, what if the second book is a bridge book? I don't know. I'm a little bit nervous, but at the very same time, I'm trusting Sarah to deliver. And also, I kind of hope it's 1,000 pages. I'm pretty sure she's not gonna write it as if it's gonna be 1,000 pages. I don't think that she would have overextended the story. It's probably gonna be 800 like the first book. But if she gives us 1,000, I would thank her. The next book that I'm gonna mention, I put next to House of Sky and Breath, only because this book series is the only book series that kind of reminds me of the Crescent City series, but not too much. It gives me the same vibes, but it's a lot more of a simplistic series. When I say simplistic, I mean the books aren't as dense. And this is the finale of the series, and that, my friends, is A Crown of Petals and Ice. This is the finale to the Honey and Ice trilogy by Shannon Mayer and Kelly St. Clair, with the first book being A Court of Honey and Ash. Yes, a title that's notorious for ripping off other titles. Trust me, it's nothing like any of the books that it sounds like. It is its own series, and I really love this series. It's actually pretty underrated. I don't think I've heard anyone talk about it here in the booktube community, but I've heard about everyone rave about it in the Bookstagram community. That's essentially how I heard about it. I'm really happy that I picked it up because it's pretty much everything that I wanted in a fantasy romance, but it's not too dense. It's not thick at all. It's actually a very quick read, and also it's a hate to love romance, so there's a lot of angst in it, but it's the kind of angst you want. I'm kind of scared about how it's gonna end. I don't want it to be too rushed. I just want it to be perfect. Both prior books ended up on a cliffhanger. I'm hoping that the third one really satisfies me. I got 2 books by the same author in the same series for my next part of the list. That is Court and Charm by Tracy Wolff. These are books 4 and 5 in the Crave series. I really want to know how this series ends, but also I want to know what was so important for Tracy to extend the series for. I mean, as I was reading Covet, all I thought to myself was, if Tracy was planning to finish the series in the next book, I don't know how she's gonna wrap it up, because Covet is such a bridge book, and that's everyone's main complaint about it. So I think that a lot of people are actually really happy that the book series got extended into a 5-book series, because Covet was just very thick, dense, but very much a bridge book. It was very much slow. I couldn't see the direction of that story leading to the finale. So I'm really happy that she wrote Court, and in a few months after we get Court, Charm will be out. I'm really happy that both of them are coming out within months of each other, and this was definitely because a paper supply chain issue. Tracy very much wants us readers to read the series the way that it was intended in terms of scheduling. She really does still want to have the book series completed before the second half of the year. That might not happen, but I think Entangled Teen are working their hardest to make sure that it does happen. So fingers crossed that it does happen, and we can all read the series by halfway through this year, and then we can read the spin-off. And now continuing on with the fantasy trend like the rest of the video is, like, let's be real, I'm going to be talking about The War of Two Queens by Jennifer L. Armentrout. Yes, I know, I'm trash. It's a thing. I know that a lot of people have given up on the series, especially after The Crown of Gilded Bones, or some people are curious to see where it goes. I'm very much curious to see where it goes. I really loved The Crown of Gilded Bones. It's just my personal opinion. I really loved the plot in that one. Even though a lot of it was exposition, I was just so fascinated in it. I finished it, and then when I found out the next book title, I think I screamed. I was going in full panic mode when I read this book title is The War of Two Queens. Like, I'm anticipating things to go down, and it's not gonna be pretty. I think we're also getting Castiel's perspective, and I'm thinking it's about bloody time we did. I think that one thing that I've been really annoyed with about the series is that a lot of people love Castiel and say that he's dreamy and whatever, or he's misunderstood. But I think if you want to drive the point that he's misunderstood, you gotta give us his perspective. I think that it's just better writing when you do that, and so I'm just really happy that Jennifer L. Armentrout caved, and she's gonna give us Castiel's perspective. I don't know if it's happening in this book, but it will be happening eventually. I just wish that it happened earlier, personally. Better late than never. I just realized the next 3 book titles have the word blood in it. The next one I gotta mention is Bloodmarked by Tracy Deonn. This is the sequel to the Legendborn saga, and I'm so excited to see where Bree's journey is going to continue. I really loved reading Legendborn the 2 times that I read it. I actually read it twice just to refresh my mind, because it is a pretty chunky book. I really like this urban fantasy world. A lot of people compare it to reading the Mortal Instruments series, and I can totally understand that. I'm not really into the Arthurian legend kind of fiction. Sometimes I will read something that has to do with Arthurian legends. Like, I did enjoy the Guinevere Deception. I didn't enjoy Cursed that much. Legendborn, I'd say when I was reading it in 2020, really won the year in terms of the Arthurian inspired books that I read that year. I'm very much looking forward to reading Bloodmarked this year and potentially rereading Legendborn this year, because it's really that good. And the next book that has the B word in the title is Blood Like Fate by Lizelle Sambury. This, I believe, is the sequel and potentially the finale to Blood Like Magic. I really loved the first book. You know how I've mentioned a few times that I've been disappointed in duologies, because I feel like duologies, they don't set themselves up that much, and then you need like a big expansion in order for it to really carry on and be its full thing. I feel like both Legendborn, because I think at the moment Legendborn is a duology unless they do expand upon it, considering how big the first book has been, and Blood Like Magic. I feel like both of them really set up the story where they could just be duologies and I would be satisfied with it. I feel like Blood Like Magic did such a good job in setting up the world and these characters, making us care about them. And as much as I would want to have like a 10-book series with this family, I kind of don't care how little we will get in the future, because I feel like the first book did it so well. However, the cliffhanger at the end of the first book, I need answers. I think that the next book will give us some closure, but I hope that the next book will also give us more family moments, and it will kind of clean up some messes that were made in the first book. And the third book with the B word in it is The Blood Trader by Lynette Noni. This is the 3rd and final book, I believe, in the Prison Healer trilogy. I am very much looking forward to this one, although I have not yet read The Gilded Cage. This year, I've got to get on to reading The Gilded Cage in anticipation for The Blood Trader. But what I do know is that The Prison Healer, if you've watched my favorite books of 2021, you'll know that book made that list, and I believe that if the next 2 books are just as good, they will make my 2022 list. Lynette Noni has officially written my favorite series by her, even though I've only read the first book. I'm very much looking forward to The Blood Trader, and I hope that the second and third books are just as good as The Prison Healer. Now I'm gonna mention a book by Elise Kova, and that, my friends, is A Deal with the Vampire Lord. No, A Duel with the Vampire Lord. Not a because, yeah, you know, A Deal with the Elf King. That's the first one. Yeah. This is the third book in the Married to Magic series. I've read A Deal with the Elf King. I have not yet read A Dance with a Fey Prince, but I will be, and I'm really excited about that because that is a Psyche and Arrows retelling. Oh my goodness, I want more Psyche and Arrows retellings because I think I recently just educated myself on the myth of Psyche and Arrows, and I just can see that working well in a book series or a reimagining. And this one, I forgot what this was a reimagining of, but what I do know, the take on this myth or legend is going to involve vampires, which is pretty exciting considering that the first two books are about elf and fae. So it's a different turn and potentially a different tone from the rest of the books, but I'm excited for it because it's Elise Kova, and I think that she did pretty well with the first book in the series. I believe that A Dance with the Fey Prince is more universally loved, so I believe that I will love that one even more than Elf King, but I'm hoping that the series finishes off with a bang. Now I'm gonna talk about These Twisted Bonds by Lexi Ryan. This is the sequel, and I don't want it to be the finale, but it's probably gonna be the finale to the These Hollow Vows duology. The first book was really good. It had a bunch of twists and turns, and sometimes, I think I mentioned this before about duologies, I could see the series working well as a duology because of everything that was established in the first book. I think the one thing that I'm lacking is Finn. We all love Dark Hair Fae here. I want to see more scenes with him because I enjoyed him in the first book. I feel like we did not get enough of him in the first book, so I hope we get more of him. But other than that, my wish list for this book is just, I hope that vindication happens. If you read the first book, you know. All I'm really asking for is more of that guy. He was fascinating. I feel like he was just a little bit too mysterious. I don't want to say goodbye, but what I do know is that I want to experience more of Lexi Ryan's amazing writing through the series. And now I'm going to talk about a book called The King Will Kill You, the third book in the Princess Will Save You trilogy. I cannot believe I'm saying this right now because I 100% expected this series to be a duology. I'm just so happy that the publisher accepted the series to be a trilogy because the first book was just that good. I have not yet read The Queen Will Betray You. I was going to, and then when I found out that The King Will Kill You is going to be a book in this trilogy, I held off. This series, I am planning to binge this year. I'm so excited. And I'm very much happy for Sarah Henning because she really nailed it with the first book, and I do believe that this series has so much potential. Funnily enough, I would actually recommend this series for people who love the Remnant Chronicles series. I didn't love the ending of the Remnant Chronicles series, but what I like about the series is that it has political intrigue, and it's pretty much got a similar premise in a sense that a princess is running away from a kingdom because she doesn't want to marry for alliances, she wants to marry for love. So it's got a similar premise to that, and also the princess is very intelligent when it comes to politics. I would recommend it for anybody who does like the Remnant Chronicles, even though I did not like the ending of the Remnant Chronicles whatsoever. I did not even like the final book. The final book was trash to me in my opinion, but I did like this series for its political intrigue. The second last book that I'm very much excited to read in 2022 is The Atlas 6 by Olivia Blake. I have heard great things about this book, and you guys might be wondering, why have you heard great things about this book when it's not even out yet? Technically, The Atlas 6 is already out. It was actually independently published, but I'm waiting for the updated version because the updated version and soon to be traditionally published version picked up by Tor Books, which is very exciting. This will be published in March of this year. I'm very much looking forward to reading The Atlas 6 and getting to know this world as much as everybody else. I've been looking forward to it. The Atlas 6 has become the favorite book of so many booktubers and bookstagrammers this year. I have really high expectations for it, but I'm going to try to manage my expectations and really hoping that the series is just going to be a very good time for me. Final book that I anticipate for this year is a finale to a trilogy, and yes, we're going to say goodbye to these characters. I'm hoping that one day this author revisits the world, but if they don't, that's okay. I took what I could get, and that, my friends, is Kingdom of the Feared by Carrie Maniscalco. This is the third and final book in the Kingdom of the Wicked series after Kingdom of the Cursed. Oh my goodness, I really need this book. Absolutely. I think we're all just anticipating it. Kingdom of the Cursed left on a cliffhanger, but also we finally discovered a secret of like one of the main characters, and they were so mysterious like in the first book. It makes me happy to know that we finally discovered that secret because everybody was hyping them up. Yeah, I've talked about this many times on my channel. Now that I know the big secret and the big reveal of the second book, I'm very much looking forward in seeing the dynamic between the two main characters. In the third book, I really do want to see Amelia roll and just take over essentially, because Amelia and Wrath are are amazing, and I couldn't be more excited for Kingdom of the Feared, I swear. That is going to be it for this video today, book lovers. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did enjoy it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet already. Join the amazing community of book lovers. And also, I have social medias. I'm at gswizzlebooks on Twitter and Instagram, and I'm also at Goodreads. That's www.goodreads.com/gswizzle. And finally, I'm at TikTok. I'm at gswizzle on TikTok if you want to follow me there for some bookish content. I love you, book lovers, and I will see you later. Peace.
Started out with half and I flipped it into double. Started out with half and I flipped it into double.